I get inspired by seeing people do what they love and do it really well and seeing them grow.
Come on in.
Hi, this is Jack Baldwin with Reynard Architectural Designs. You're listening to our latest episode of By Design. It's a podcast about creativity, passion. We talk sometimes about business, entrepreneurship, but we also talk to artists quite a bit. And we've got another artist joining us today. How are you, Amber?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for joining me. It's a beautiful day today. It's March 1st, and it's actually pretty sunny and warm, so it's kind of starting to feel like spring.
Hopefully it's not a fake spring like we have in Atlanta. Hopefully it's a...
I was thinking about March 1993 in Atlanta not too long ago, and I don't know if you were here that year, but we had a horrible blizzard out of nowhere. Well, blizzard in our terms, let's say.
Right. About an inch or so snow.
Yeah, we got, well, it was more than, but yeah, we haven't had our luck with snow in Atlanta for sure. So now you're in Noonan, is that right?
That's right. I'm in Noonan.
Okay, cool. Is that where you're from today?
Yes, I live in Noonan now. I've lived in a couple towns in Georgia, but always in Georgia.
Yeah, me too. I'm a lifelong native of Georgia. So we're gonna talk about your bio. I'm kind of teasing it a little bit, but I'm gonna give you a little bit of an introduction, and then we're gonna learn about Amber Stidham. So you're a muralist, and we've been acquainted for a couple of years now. I noticed some of your work in Noonan, actually. I think that's how we got acquainted. We maybe connected on social media through some artwork that you had done. And I reached out to you. I was looking at Empire Murals, which is the name of your company, I guess. And I was looking at your work. So you're doing painting and drawing. Tell me a little bit about what you do today. Like, what is Empire Murals all about?
That's my full-time gig. I do commission work on the side when I'm not doing mural work, and I still try to keep up a body of work of my own as well. I basically just like to be doing something creative all the time, sharpening skills, technically, that type of thing. But murals is what I do for a living.
Oh, I see. So you're an artist doing all kinds of, I think you told me you're working with acrylic, with drawing, with paint. You've worked with graphite in the past, but multiple mediums, it sounds like. So you're an artist, you're still creating other artwork other than murals, but it sounds like murals is what's paying the bills. That's kind of the impression I'm getting.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I'm looking at
for the past 5 years, I think.
5 years you've been doing Empire?
I believe I started 2018, so maybe it's 4 years. Is that 4 years?
Yes.
Yeah, 4 years.
Yeah, I pulled up your Instagram while we were talking, and for anybody listening, Amber can be found at leah.art.create on Instagram. And you've got more than just murals here. Awesome stuff. You've got self-portraits, some really beautiful nature paintings, really creative and interesting stuff here. And then there's the public art, the wall art that's on, looks like some local businesses in the Noonan area and around Georgia. I love the colors on some of these murals too, with these the giraffe and the zebra and the tiger. I love the color layout on those, so bright and vivid. We might have to get you to do commission you to paint a fox for us. That's our little mascot and logo for Reynard. So maybe we need to talk about that.
Yeah, that would be cool. That project you're talking about, that was a really fun project. I got to do pretty much whatever I wanted to. It was for a pediatric practice in LaGrange, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, I don't even know where to begin with painting a mural. It looks like such an undertaking, but really just I love seeing them in public. I love, when you're turning a street corner and you're met with a huge piece of art. It's fantastic. So I have a real appreciation for what you do, and for also just all your hand-drawn art here. But with that being said, I would love to just hear. We usually just do an origin story when we have people join us on the podcast, and just you can start back as far as you want and bring us up to today, and just tell us your story as an artist and as a person.
Okay, cool. I'll try to not make it too long. I know there's a lot of stuff that happens in one's life to bring them to be an artist full time. I actually started out as a voice major, which is hilarious. I went to Georgia Southern University first, and within the first 2 weeks, I had kidney failure.
Wow.
And I know, really crazy. So I had to take a medical withdrawal. Going back a little bit further, I'd always painted and drawn, but for me, that wasn't a way to really make money. I just had this idea that I couldn't be an artist for a living and make money doing that.
Right.
So, of course, voice major is not much better, like that was kind of like an unrealistic thing too, but it's almost like God was like, nope, that's not what you're be doing. So I'm going to yank you back to LaGrange
just to
to
clarify,
live with your parents.
when you say voice major, were you intending at first to do voiceover work, like as a voice actor?
Oh no, I was a singer. I was in a tryout traveling type of chorus for Georgia Southern, and it was actually a big deal.
Yeah.
And I worked really hard to get there, but it was just one of those things. It was like the first 2 weeks, and my dad just got me a really nice Trek bike, and I was like, I'm going to make this work. I know I feel terrible. I don't know why I feel terrible, but I'm going to go to class. And it was just like I fell apart. So I was put into the hospital on dialysis. I had to go back home, and it actually corrected itself.
Interesting.
After that, and I'm completely fine now.
Wow, well, what a big decision that ultimately ended up changing your career decisions and your work. That's interesting that that's what disrupted it.
100% the craziest thing. So when I got back to LaGrange, I took a temp position at a textile plant called Mountville Mills.
Okay.
And they taught me vector art, and they taught me in Corel Draw, which is like the oldest. If that tells my age, it's like the oldest graphic design program you could work in.
Oh yeah. I bet.
But I was not.
We're chuckling at what you started at, right?
It's hilarious. It really is. So but I was, that foundation that they gave me at 19.
Yeah.
Was very instrumental in how I do things now. So after about 2 or 3 years, I decided to go back to college and get a degree in art. And I got it under the study of graphic design because I was like, that's the easiest way for me to make money and still do art. As I got into the degree, I discovered that, oh, wow, I really would rather do fine art, but, I just didn't see how that could happen yet. Art history, I even thought, oh God, I would love to be like an art historian or something like that, because I really enjoyed art history. And I remember like just being in tears my last year of college, like I'm not going to get to do art all the time because I won't have an assignment I have to do, but I was okay. After that, I did several design jobs, and, they were all right, but it was just like, I still don't feel right with what I'm able to contribute. Eventually it got to the point where I started doing independent work. That was a little bit better. Okay. I did figure out eventually that I do not need to work in a corporate situation. That was actually the thing that got me to say, all right, I have to stop. I have to start doing art for like full time.
Yeah.
Now, throughout this, I was married, had a child, divorced, and remarried within all of this time. And my new husband, we both are artists. I'd never dated another artist or, been around a lot of artists, but we both respect each other's time and understand that it takes like a lot of time to build your technical skills and to keep it up. And we both really enjoy street art.
Yeah.
And before, during my divorce, I remember going to LA and going to Long Beach and doing like street art graffiti tours. Except for it wasn't really a tour. We kind of just did like graffiti hunts and went and took pictures. And I just remember thinking, oh my God, this is like the coolest thing. I wish one day I get to do this. Like, I want to do this. So, I mean, little did I know.
Inspiration.
Right. That it was going to happen. So I got to meet Shepard Fairey, which, you know, he's a huge street artist. At his gallery, actually, for a show he was having for Ravi Zupa, which is another really amazing artist. And through that, I think I started to realize, okay, it's actually possible to do this for a living. People are doing this and they're making really, really good money. So maybe I should try to do it.
Right.
My husband pushed me to do it, though. He really did kind of push me to do that. So when he went back to work full time, I was like, I'm going to keep doing this and I'm going to make a business of it. And this was 4 years ago.
Awesome. That's so cool.
Yeah. Everything just kind of lined up.
Huh. You know, I think it's hard to, there's something about the heart in art, you know, there's something, it really is a passionate kind of thing. Creativity, it's so personal. And sometimes I think as you are emerging and growing as an artist, it's hard to conceptualize what a career in art would look like, because you're combining business acumen and, you know, currency and transactions and all these things that seem kind of sterile with something that's, you know, very personal and close to you. And also there's not always the framework that people are given. You know, I talked to a lot of people who their journey into becoming an artist, you know, went through some real hard twists and turns and unexpected outcomes. And, you know, I think just kind of discovering along the way, you know, it's you're creating that framework, and it unfolds at a different time and in a different way for every person. So it sounds like it was a journey for you to discover that you can become a professional artist. You can do something that's satisfying and also make money at it and contribute and have fun doing it. So good for you that you didn't give up on that and you kept pulling, you know, and striving to find out how that could take place. And it's awesome that you had some support along the way. That's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, I think everything that happened led up to me being able to do this in a proper way now. Business experience, the graphic design. I mean, I use that daily with what I do. Yeah, absolutely.
And you learn, I mean, that's the thing. It's a balance. I think in our own journey with our company, you know, the three of us, Kaylin, James, and I, who started the company, we all have very different backgrounds, and we all arrived to the decision to start our business for different reasons. But there's a lot that you look back on and you draw upon. You're like, oh, I didn't know that making 100 cold calls a day was going to serve me well. Later, or learning vector art, or you know, maybe the disruptions that happen that seem so meaningless at the time, they end up to serve you and to correct things, even if they were very painful, because you know, you do go through some hardships to get there, but they inform the process. And I think it's wise to look back on it and see that. So that's awesome. Thanks for sharing your story. That's and here we are today. We're with you're still creating. You're doing it professionally. I've got a great following. So where do you, I like to ask everybody about their inspiration. So it sounds like you told me a little bit. Some street artists in LA were inspiring, but where else do you find inspiration? And where have you? So like where do you find and draw inspiration from today? And what are some other places you have in the past?
You know, I really draw inspiration from lots of different places. When I started as an artist, I use it as therapy. And I also, at one point, actually helped at the cancer clinic in LaGrange, Georgia. I think it's West Georgia now. Helped kind of like do little art therapy classes and community projects. And the more I did that, the more I realized that just by doing large pieces, you're able to help somebody in that same kind of way, just by maybe making them smile, you know, you like you said, you turn the corner and you see something that's bright and colorful, and you may be having a bad day and now you're not. So I mean, just little things like that, but also other artists. Swoon, my God, she's an amazing artist. And let's see who else. David Kassan. I don't know if that's how you pronounce his last name. I don't know if you know of him, but
No.
I aspire to be like him one day. He is phenomenal. Him and his wife, Slevinson, I think it's his wife or his girlfriend. They're both phenomenal portrait artists. And I mean, I get inspired by seeing people do what they love and do it really well, and seeing them grow.
Yeah.
Because I understand how hard that is and what it takes to do that. But also, that's what drives me. That's my passion. I don't think that I would be very happy if I didn't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah. And inspiration's it's so great because it can be so unexpected. You know, I think sometimes in the moment you're experiencing it, you may not even know that you are, or you're so captivated by, I don't know, it's those moments that really feel right, I think, that are inspiring when you feel like a sense of belonging or something you want to emulate. Like you said, if you see an artist, you're like, man, I want to get that. And
yeah,
or some version of that's me, you know?
Right.
Well, I can see so much care and development that's put into your art. I see, you know, it's very personal. That's one thing I notice when I look at these images on your site and on your Instagram, just very personal things too. But I think when we first, this was just coming back to me. I think when we very first spoke, it was about 2 years ago. I remember talking about your animal art too.
Yeah.
That I was drawn to that. I think that was the pediatrician's office you mentioned, but I liked how you put very realistic animals on these backdrops that are so vivid and bright. You know, you have a good way of developing some really very realistic images in your art. Do you have any favorite projects that you can think of over the years? Anything that you've really just felt so proud of, or feel like really just embodies your style?
Wow, that's hard.
Who's your favorite?
You know, that's really hard because they're all so different. I really did like doing the Bubble Girl because, and I think it's because it's more of like an art piece. Like I've really kind of got to have more leeway and wasn't specifically told things to do with that. But that was my first big piece. And so now I'm like, oh my gosh, it could be so much better. So like every piece I do, it's like years later, you think like, oh my gosh, I could do it so much better. But honestly, getting to work with people that I care about, like I get to work with my brother, I get to work with his girlfriend, I get to work with a friend of mine that is an art friend that I've known for many years, who's actually a professor now, and she comes and helps me on projects, and we have so much fun.
Yeah.
Like I mean, it's a lot of fun to get to go outside and change locations and not be inside all the time. And your clients, I've had amazing clients.
Yeah.
The Ashley Park stuff that I've done, they're very simple, but they're so much fun to do. You know, I mean,
I'm looking at the Bubble Girl now. So that was one of your first murals that you did?
That's the first big mural that I did.
Yeah.
And so where I actually got to design it, and I wasn't painting somebody's logo or lettering or you know, something that was already their branding, right?
Yeah.
So that piece, like the only thing they want is they did want scenes from the town.
Yeah.
Which is totally, I get that.
Yeah, each bubble has a little scene of Noonan, right?
Right. The first bubble they actually had, that was an artist rendering of the link trail that I had to reproduce in that bubble. That's one that's the only piece I've ever repainted of somebody else's work in my projects.
Yeah.
I don't like to do that. I know that they had permission for me to do that, but Um, I normally tell people I will not repaint anybody else's stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, but like, you know, my mom actually came up with that idea, so it's very special to me. Like, she's like, "Well, sweetie, why don't you have like a kid blowing bubbles?" And I'm like, "Oh my God, Mom, that's like a really sweet idea." So I used the idea, and I drew the little girl and the bubbles, and you know, I did get to work on that with my husband too, so that was nice. It was the longest. It took the longest because it kept raining and it was freezing cold during that whole thing.
Oh.
Yeah. So, I mean, and that's the first time I got to use a lift. That was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I see that. That does look like it would be fun.
yeah. I mean,
It's
cool.
it's sweet, and it's a really innovative way to kind of meet what was asked of you for the commission and do it in such a creative presentation. This is a big wall too. Like you said, you had to use a lift to get around, and a lot of square footage that you had to cover.
Man, I'll tell you what, the things that people don't realize that you have to do. So the lift itself, we had to put boards on one side of it because if it's not completely flat, it won't go up past the point. So I had to go cut down boards to put under the two of the wheels so that it was level so that you could go up in the air.
Oh man.
Like the whole time, which was fine, you know. I mean, and I would have done it differently because I know more about things now. Probably would have just got a bucket list.
Like art represents the time for the artist too. It represents where you were at that point as an artist, and I think that's probably natural. A lot of us would look back at something we created and say, "Yeah, I wish I could have done it this way," or "Wish I knew this now." Back then. But that was your process then. You struggled through the weather and the elements and the lift and what your experience was at that time, and that's what you produced. And I think that's what's cool about art, is it's capturing not just an image but a moment. You're capturing where you were as an artist.
Yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't trade it for anything though. It was wonderful. Yeah, we had GPB came out and did a whole program. I think it's called Little Town USA or something.
Neat.
So that was cool. GPB, I think Georgia Public Broadcasting.
That's really cool. We need to find the link to that video so we can share that out. But yeah,
front page, I think.
Okay. Well, if this was one of your first and early projects, it had a lot of those challenges early on, and a big one. You've got a window here. You've got some brick exterior with different facades on it, different layers here that you had to work with. So it looked like it was a real challenge, but I'm sure as an artist, if you can struggle through that first one, it makes the rest of them a lot easier, and the lessons that you learned just from going out there and doing it. That's really cool. And I remember seeing that. I've seen a couple of your murals in person, and they're breathtaking. I love the work that you've done. But it does kind of, we're just kind of talking about your process a little bit. You're telling me about some of the more practical sides of developing that mural in particular. But tell me a little bit more about your actual process of developing an art piece, and whether it's a mural or a canvas or a drawing. How do you get started, and how do you push through to the finished product?
Sure. They're all really different. With my personal art, I meditate daily. I try to get my brain really quiet. I journal, things like that. I have vivid dreams about things, and I also write those down. And I can come back to them. I save imagery that I find. I take photography, things like that. Now with the mural stuff, some of that I do the same things. But the client sometimes has specific colors or imagery that they want included, or sometimes they have no clue what they want, which is totally cool because I like to try to come up with stuff that would be more creative. I think that when you give an artist full reign to do something, that you can have something really magical happen because there's no constraint. But, you know, ultimately it really kind of starts out with talking with the client and seeing what they want from the mural. Do they want it to be social media driven? Do they want it to be an art piece? Do they want it to have their logo with something their you know, their clients can stand in front of? Do they want it to be a transform a space and just be abstract shapes, or like an abstract painting? You know, it's so different.
Yeah.
With each one.
But it sounds like that whether the project is different, you have some foundational things you do that prepare you for anything, like meditating and journaling and collecting images. So your process has some stable elements to it, and you've also got some flexibility to work within the specificities. I can't say that word. Whatever specific to your project.
Yeah. I mean, you know, it's in two. I will say, somebody asked me if I did storyboard not too long ago, or like thumbnails, and I said no, but I think I kind of do in a way. I like to do digital drawings of things, and I can tell immediately if it's not going to be a good composition. You know, like, or it helps me narrow down things. I can design like 1,000 things on there and be like, okay, well, not really 1,000, but you know, I can do like 10 and be like, okay, these are really bad. You know? Yeah. So I really do that. I really do kind of thumbnail type things too.
Well, and that's what's, again, like we were kind of chatting, you know, prior to recording, and just about how art is like so many things in life. It's there is kind of the inspirational, the heart, the emotion that goes into it. You know, sometimes I think people look at art and I might assume that you know, this very gifted and talented person just intuitively was able to create this piece of art, and they don't see the art as a series of preparation and you know, a finely developed skill, and you know, all the work that goes into the practical application of it. You know, it does follow a pattern. It does follow kind of a science. You're kind of engineering a piece of art, even if it's a visual, you know, composition. There's composition to it. There's structure and engineering and design to it. You know, that's common with architecture. It's common with writing a novel, or even developing a business system or an application. You know, all of these things. That's what's kind of fun about our podcast, is that it's just exploring the way we all create, the way, you know, that we have a method to create, and you've put together some really beautiful art pieces through that method. So you know, good for you for developing and staying true to that process and that passion. You know, you didn't let things that could have deterred you from pursuing art, you know, put you on the sidelines. You actually use those as moments to develop yourself as an artist, and that's what's beautiful about art.
I think so too. Absolutely. Yeah.
And you made an elephant with butterfly wings. I mean.
Yes, I did. My mom now has that because she didn't want me to give it to anybody else. So.
Oh, great. I like it a lot. I think I'm just gonna keep cruising through your portfolio here and seeing some cool stuff.
You know, that butterfly, that was one of the ideas I had. It's so funny because what you gonna want, they never want the thing you want it to. You try some things you'll be happy with, but there are so many things that I wanted to paint on walls that aren't on walls. Like, that was kind of one of the ideas for a mural, and the giraffe and the elephant that are kind of hanging from these strings on these hot air balloons.
Yeah,
that was Park idea, and I get it. They wanted more geographic stuff. I mean, geographic. They wanted geometric. Yeah, that's right. They wanted that to stand in front of, and I get that. Yeah. It made my job a lot easier. I was totally prepared to do the really detailed thing, though.
Yeah.
So.
Well, but I love the whimsy stuff. That always catches my eye when I see something surrealistic or whimsical, or um, I enjoy those types of moments. They're very eye catching for me. And again, I love the animal art. I am seriously thinking about what we can do to get a fox painted by you. Uh, so what's next for Amber Stidham? What, as you're growing as an artist, as a professional, um, what do you want to talk about that's coming your way, or that you've got a goal for? Like, what are you working on?
I have a project, another project for Ashley Park coming up. It's just a smaller project, and then a couple small things that are more science work. But I do have a really large thing that's going to happen that I can't really talk about because I'm not supposed to be talking about it. But I don't know when it's going to happen. I know it's going to happen, and it's going to be a huge hit. So that could be cool, and I may get to do more of my own art, which is something that is a goal for me. So I really want to be able to have no restraints or guides on a huge wall and get to do like an art piece, like an actual painting on a big wall, that I just kind of do whatever. And I had someone the other day say, well, I guess you need to buy a building. I was like, okay.
Where's your solution? You can do whatever you want now.
I was like, one day maybe, but I'm sure that people would actually really want somebody to do something beautiful on the center of a wall, and they would pay for it. So
our company is an architectural firm, so when I see murals and I see art on walls, I of course think about what would it be like to have that in a home, or I've seen lots of people have private murals put in their homes. So yeah, I would love to see one of our clients put a huge mural. As Dana, one of our guests last week, said, part of what inspired her when she was developing her woven fabric art pieces was being able to look at a big blank wall that's staring back at you and envision one of her wall hangers on that wall. So maybe there's some future commissions for homeowners who would love to have a unique, a one-of-a-kind work of art on their home, on their walls. That would be really cool.
That would be awesome. I would love that.
I did find some fox paintings you did, by the way. I found one with, looks like a queen and two foxes.
Oh, yeah. That was from the women's series I did. I had a show in a gallery in LaGrange called the Cochran Gallery.
Yeah.
West and Michigan on the gallery, and my whole side of the show, John, my husband, had one half of the gallery, and then I had the other half, and my side was empowering women. And so I started the series probably like 2 years before, just doing sketches of women in graphite, and then it kind of progressed to sketches of women mixed with painting parts of them. And then that fox piece, that particular one, she's a shaman, and I just thought the way she presented herself was really cool. And the idea of the foxes was, I think she had a dream that there were two foxes in her dreams, and I was like, oh, they can be your spirit animals, or kind of, that would be cool to have those foxes in the painting, and it would make it interesting. So yeah, that's how that painting happened.
Very lifelike and great expression in her face. The shaman looks very powerful, and the foxes are great too. So Amber, tell us, how can anybody support you as an artist? What would you like anybody listening to know about you as an artist, your business? How could they show you support?
If you are looking to change a space in your business or your home and you need somebody to transform it for you, Empire Murals would be happy to come in and do that for you. Or if you just need a commission, I do small commissions when I'm not doing my mural work. So, something like that would be fun. I really enjoy the mural stuff a little bit more now than the smaller work, just because it gets me out of the house. I want to get out of the house more, but I do love having a commission going at the same time as a mural.
Yeah, so you do need some outdoor time for sure, but a good balance of work coming in to keep you outdoors and it sounds like a good mix.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, well, I hope somebody will reach out for a private commission. It would be really cool to get to have your own piece of art designed for you. That would be a real special thing.
Yeah.
Amber, I feel like I could talk about your paintings for much longer, but I really enjoyed it. Thank you for sharing your story for our podcast and the people who listen to it. And I really want to see you continue to make some awesome things. And I think you've got some surprises ahead that you were teasing us with that hopefully we'll get to hear about more when we can be public with these big projects coming up.
You can't tell all the good things until it gets closer.
Yeah, I see how it is. It's that way we can have you back on a little bit later to tell us about it.
Oh, yeah.
I would love to get an update when we can share it with people. That would be fun. So Amber, again, thank you so much. Again, this was Amber Stidham. You can find her on Instagram. I'm going to put some links in the show notes, but she's on Instagram at Empire Murals Inc. And her personal artist page is Leah, LEAH.art.create on Instagram. So I'll put those links in, but I would love for people to connect with you as a result. Amber, thank you so much.
Come on in.
Thank you, Jack.
Architecture.